Assassin's Creed 2 was an enjoyable platinum for the most part, especially when compared to subsequent games in the series and Ubisoft's obsession with online multiplayer trophies and those annoying 100% syncing of every mission in each memory sequence of the main story trophies. My word, some of those sucked and were a real nightmare at times, especially with the glitchy nature of the game's AI or how specific and unnatural some of those online multiplayer trophies were that meant that you just weren't going to get them in a normal multiplayer session. It was definitely a major plus point for Assassin's Creed 2, which has neither of those issues, when it came to deciding which of the Assassin's Creed games on PlayStation Plus I'd replay. And while this is definitely the easiest Assassin's Creed game to platinum, it's honestly not without its problems. After getting all the trophies now again on the PS4 version in the Ezio collection, I have to say that the most tedious part of the journey, even back when I first platinumed it on PS3, was and still is when it comes to unlocking the In Memory of Petruccio trophy, which is for collecting all 100 of the feathers scattered around the game's open world. But if you've played Assassin's Creed 2 already, you kinda knew that already, didn't you?
That one bullshit PlayStation trophy.
So the feathers are actually part of a mission really early on in the game, given to you by your little brother, Petruccio, who, if I'm quite honest, scared the hell out of me when he was alive. I mean, just look at those demon eyes, my word, what the fuck is that? So when he dies along with your other brother and your father, and you eventually become an assassin and go on to avenge their deaths, forget all the enemies that you were going to face. I was more terrified of that little brother coming back as like some possessed demon than anything. So if I'm honest, I just got the feathers out of pure fear that he might return to scold me if I didn't. Now, I know you're thinking 100 feathers sounds like a lot to get, but you've got to remember this game was from a time where Ubisoft hadn't quite become totally obsessed with doing everything for everyone to create an epic 100 plus hour game that is just way too bloated and overstuffed for its own good. I mean, in Assassin's Creed 2 at least, you can still make out the map when you zoom right out, as it isn't fully obscured by a load of bullshit collectible icons. However, there are other collectible types in Assassin's Creed 2, like the glyphs and statues, though thankfully there are only a handful of those compared to the feathers. Despite that, however, it will still take you several hours to trek about across the rooftops to find all 100 of these feathers, yet for some reason they don't actually show up on the main map or on your little mini-map when you're running about, so you pretty much have to use a video guide or a printed out map to show you all the locations and tick them off one by one if you want to find them all. Why? Why do you do that, Ubisoft? I mean, you show everything else on the map. You can look at everything else but the feathers. It's just fucking annoying, man, quite frankly. It's just a really odd omission because the game actually tracks in the menu how many out of the 100 you have, which is really good, and it also breaks them down into each area. Each city will show you the total in each one, so that's kind of useful, but the fact that it doesn't show you any of them on the map or even ping them on your little radar mini-map when you're close by just makes this a real pain in the arse to try and get, and it's why a lot of people always hate the feathers whenever they think about what they didn't like about Assassin's Creed 2. Because God forbid if you accidentally pick up a few when just running through the game, or you decide to just try and find as many as you can without using a guide, if you got down to your last 10 or so, you would really struggle to find where they are. Good luck to you, pal, you're gonna need it. Definitely use a guide to go for these. Just avoid picking up any of them that you see when you're playing the story, and then just use a guide to get all 100 afterwards. Much, much easier. A problem with the feathers as a collectible type for you to find is, well, that they're feathers, so they're small and they they don't really stand out too well, especially in the daytime, as they can just blend in with the brightness of the brick walls or the glowing white of the sky, making them a lot harder to see in the day versus the night, when their glowing white aura makes them stand out against the dark sky really well. And sure, there's an audio cue when you're nearby one of them, but did they really have to go with white? Bloody hell. It's bad enough that I'm having to collect 100 of these pretty small feathers, but to make them white so that they're hard to see, well, that's just BS on top of more BS. And yeah, I know you can use the eagle vision thing, but that just makes everything blue and ugly, and in a way, even harder to navigate around the place because you can barely see anything. So I don't really count that as a fully helpful tool to find the feathers, because they're still quite tricky to see them, even in that mode. I mean, look at that one. Ugh, and I know this is an old game, but why do devs do this? Why did they do this? And why do they still do this? Collectibles? Who exactly are the target audience for Collectibles? I really would love to know what type of gamer they envision enjoys this shite. In my opinion, they are simply an extra thing that adds nothing but time to the playthrough, dragging it on and on for you to just complete a pointless checklist. It's fucking work, not fun gameplay. I mean, they're feathers, not Pokemon, and I don't want to catch them all. But I've got to, if I want to avoid my little brother coming back to haunt me, and if I want that trophy in the platinum afterwards. God damn it! Another problem you will have when collecting all the feathers is it highlights just how awkward and clunky the controls are in Assassin's Creed 2, as you parkour around the place, running and jumping across rooftops or climbing up the edge of a building, only for Ezio to just glitch out or leap across in a completely different direction that you are holding, or he just doesn't grab that ledge, causing you to fall to your death or damage your armor, or when you do make the jump, it doesn't make the jump and it just misses out on grabbing the collectible. This then forces you to have to climb your way back up and round to try and figure out a different route up to the collectible, even though Ezio could quite clearly have just grabbed that fucking ledge in the first place. It's worse on the ones that are high up on a building that is really awkward to get to, because if you end up dying or falling or just making a mistake on that, it's a right pain to have to work your way back around. Even some simple ones can be really annoying. Like this one here, I could clearly jump to that beam, but it wouldn't let me do it from that side. So I climbed up the other side to try and jump off of this like hidden closet thing, and he still didn't grab it, so I damaged my fucking health even more. So on my third fucking attempt going back up that second route that I chose, well, look what happens now. He finally decides to grab the fucking beam, and let me get the feather, for fuck's sake. And trust me, there's a few in the game where it can take you a long time to climb up or to get over to that area, and when he just glitches out, it just becomes really, really frustrating, and in the end, you may well just grow sick of the game through trying to gather all of these feathers up. Because the collectibles do show a lot of the game's navigational flaws when it comes to the more precise movements, and after the 50th or so feather that you've collected and you lose another one due to Ezio just misbehaving for the umpteenth time, or maybe when you're trying to get a collectible, a bunch of guards just suddenly spot you and then they spawn in like 10 of them, and you have to have a big ass fucking battle with those before you can carry on to go and get the next collectible. It just becomes really old really fast, and I would just advise to just lob a smoke bomb down and just get the fuck out of there instead of wasting even more time fighting all those fucking annoying guards. Just leave me alone, for God's sake. And regardless of all that crap, and trust me, when you play through Assassin's Creed 2, you will run into a lot of weird shit, because despite this being an awesome game, it is definitely a glitchy one. but you'll still just push forward regardless, and slowly but surely you'll start to gather up these feathers at a pretty steady pace. And for my money, I found it best to leave Venice until last, as nearly half of the 100 of the feathers are in that location alone, so that area definitely dragged on more and more than the other areas, as those ones had far less in comparison. So if you do those first, it feels like you're progressing through this trophy much more quickly, and eventually, after a fair bit of tedium and frustration, you will finally grab your last feather and unlock the In Memory of Petruccio trophy. So what else do you get in return for doing all of that hard work? Well, you get a little cutscene once you return to your villa and put all the feathers in the memory box for your little dead brother. And, well, the game actually does give you a cape, one with your Ezio Auditore family crest on it. However, this just makes you really wanted in a lot of the game's cities, so it's kind of not that great. And, well, the cape itself also ties into another collectible for wearing that cape in every city, plus the mountains. Don't forget the fucking mountains like I did. So, yeah, basically you've just spent hours and hours gathering up these annoying fucking feathers, only for your reward to then be the opportunity to start another collectible trophy. Fuck you, Ubisoft. So, yeah, what we have here is still an annoying trophy, but if we were to compare it to future games in the series and other collectible trophies that I've gone for in other open world games, this one isn't as bad, because there are only 100 and it won't take you too long, but it is long enough, trust me. And when you finally get them all, you get that cape to get another collectible trophy. So in a way, it just really isn't worth your time, but if you want the platinum, you've got to go and do it. So for all the reasons I've mentioned in this video, the In Memory of Petruccio trophy in Assassin's Creed 2 gets a bullshit trophy rating of...
Alright, here we go. Let's go! Shit! 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 Whoa, 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 whoa!